Everybody at some point in their lives gets into at least a little bit of trouble, right? Maybe at school, work, or maybe even at a WWE event. The bottom line is you experienced it. Another man who experienced it, especially in the 90s, is HBK, Shawn Michaels. Anyone who has spent any time on the wrestling side of YouTube has heard about the stories of Shawn acting like a maniac in the 90s. Do you guys blame him? He was relatively young, had the WWE championship at least half the time, and was living his dream. Let's not forget, Shawn grinded for years to get to the WWE. That is an excuse to act like a maniac. What exactly was Shawn doing? Well, people weren't a fan, told stories, and Shawn even cut a promo on how he wasn't safe. In a way, it's respectable how he was pulling up like John Cena to a place that he believed was rooting against him. He showed up and showed out, being one of the best performers at the time in most people's opinions. And when you're that amazing, sometimes all the other stuff is overlooked because of your amazing talent. Then In Your House happened in 1997, which, by the way, they gave a real house to a fan in one of the pay-per-views. Undertaker was facing Shawn Michaels in a casket match, and Shawn got tossed to the outside, and in a mistake hit the corner of the casket, causing severe back pain. Shawn also wasn't feeling like himself, and in 1997 took some time off with girls and people all around the world wanting it not to be true. It was real. For the next 5 years, HBK was gone as an in-ring performer. He was seen as an on-screen personality. He was in charge of Raw, and it was a thing for years. Everyone was asking, is Shawn gonna come back? The answer to that question in 1997 was no. 1998, no. 1999, no. 2000, no. And 2001, no. Then 2002 came around. On June 3rd, 2002, the NWO revealed there would be a brand new member. So Kevin Nash introduced the brand new member of the NWO, Shawn Michaels. After being gone for 18 months from WWE, he was back, and he was doing something fans didn't get to but wanted to witness. Shawn in the NWO, because if you guys remember, he didn't wrestle for WCW. So this was a brand new sight. Wait guys. This is a story that is often told, and yes, Shawn did have his first in-ring match in WWE since 1997. It wasn't his first complete in-ring match during that time. See, you all probably know that Shawn Michaels ran a wrestling school, and in the year 2000, I just found this out, he wrestled. In San Antonio, Texas, Shawn had a hardcore street fight match with a guy named Paul Diamond, which wrestler came out with almost a win. But man, the table has been undefeated since back then. Yeesh. Shawn won the match, and the match is online on YouTube, by the way, if you guys want to go watch it. He was taking some wild spots, but also I felt like it was very reserved, obviously because of his back. Later in the year, Shawn would wrestle at SummerSlam and had one of the best return matches in history. This would mark the beginning of a new run. Some people question if it was a one-off, but it clearly wasn't. The one thing that stood out that was different though was a thing on Shawn's neck and his spirit overall. Shawn wasn't sticking flags to the part of his nose now. He was a man of God. Over those 5 years, Shawn worked on himself and found God. He started attending Bible study on Tuesdays, which is why he wasn't on SmackDown. From here, he realized that this was his new life. As he put it, doing this saved his life. And well, after this, the run of a lifetime began. Whether you're a believer or not, you definitely believed that this was Shawn Michaels in the ring, because this run was iconic. Shortly after his return, Shawn was in the world title picture. After 1997 was the last time he held the WWE Championship, Shawn was not coming for the big gold belt, and he was coming for it full speed ahead. Shawn won the title after being put in an elimination chamber, which was a new concept. He outlasted everyone else in that match to once again become world champion. The world heavyweight title, which he hadn't won up to that point, was not his, and this awesome picture was taken. He came out the next night and in the middle of the ring announced that there was a lot of talent back there, and the sensible thing to do was to put the championship in the middle of the ring and go. The only thing about it was, well, Shawn wasn't really, according to him, a sensible guy. So he was gonna stay and defend that world title. Defend he did. See, the WWE fans have always had fan favorites, and back in the 2002 days, at the top of that list were Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and maybe the Hurricane. So the first title defense, Rob came out to the ring and challenged Shawn Michaels. Of course, the way the story was lining up, Shawn accepted, and the two had their first match, the big one, on Monday. The story here was the new gen versus a classic gen. Who was gonna win? Shawn's goal, seemingly, was to take the freaking legs out. Rob was really close to winning at the end when he hit a 5-star frog splash and went for the cover. But the match ended in disqualification, and the match didn't have a satisfying ending. Shawn moved on though, and his reign didn't last a super long time, but what did happen is his return lasted a really long time. Chris Jericho came out and claimed that he was better than him, and he was doing a huge amount of trash talking. The crowd was not having it. Well, Shawn wasn't either. He hit a super kick. The feud was on. The following week on Raw, Shawn and Jericho talked at the Royal Rumble, and the challenge was that whoever was number one in the Rumble and won the whole thing, like someone did in 1993, that is who is considered the best in the WWE. Jericho wasn't gonna fall for that though. He said he saw what was happening. Shawn claimed that he wasn't really doing it to bait Jericho in to prove that he's the best. He just said he better enter at number one, because if he doesn't, then he will. Then that's exactly what happened. In Royal Rumble 2003, the first entrant was Shawn Michaels, and the second was Chris John, not Chris Jericho. The third entrant though was Chris Jericho with a sneak attack from behind. This all led to a WrestleMania 19 match between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. The About today is a match that people tend to cite as one of the greatest passing of the guard moments, and not in the win term, but in the way they wrestle. I'm pretty sure I remember someone saying it was like looking in the mirror, watching the match, which was filled with high-flying action and is considered one of the best matches ever. Shawn was the one who came out victorious. It's worth mentioning though, Chris Jericho turned on Shawn, handshaking Michaels, and even sharing a hug, continuing their feud with the kick to the... After this, their feud wasn't over. They kept putting on bangers over the years, including their second match, the rematch in 2003. In the summer of 2003, Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho went at it one more time, only Ric Flair got involved for some shenanigans. The fact that I just mentioned that is probably telling who won. Shawn was in control for a lot of the match. He baseball slipped out of the ring and attacked Rick. This was one distraction, but after Jericho started to take control, Shawn shifted the momentum and delivered this move. When it looked like he was making a comeback, the man Randy Orton came down to the ring and caused a change in the win. As HBK was about to win, he got involved and Chris got the dub. What a story though. For it being one of the first stories of his career since his return, it was top tier. The next episode of Raw, an episode of the highlight reel, took place. This was Randy Orton pretty much boasting to Shawn Michaels about how it didn't happen the way Shawn wanted it to. The next big storyline that I want to talk about in this return is a classic, the 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match. Stone Cold was in charge of Raw at the time with Eric Bischoff, so it was that cool boss versus the Karen boss, so they were bound to clash, and they did at Survivor Series. There was only one thing though. The Rattlesnake, Steve Austin, was on the lookout for his fifth member. As he was on the lookout, he came backstage and spotted an HBK hanging out. In a seek for the fifth member, Stone Cold slightly over and over hinted that, Shawn should be the fifth guy. Shawn was a little confused on what Stone Cold was saying. He didn't follow. At first, it seemed that when Stone Cold ultimately directly said it to Shawn, was gonna deny the offer, but like he usually did, HBK came back into the camera. He said yes. So it was on. And in a competitive performance by Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels, they were the final two. As far as the match goes, well, you all are wrestling fans. It's predictable how this went. You guys know those 5 minutes in wrestling where at the end of the match, adrenaline, excitement, and just a strong, fast combination of events is happening. This was it. Stone Cold's job was on the line. Shawn was busted open. Eric Bischoff got involved, paid for it. JR and Lawler are going nuts on commentary. Randy Orton is in the ring. Stone Cold stuns Randy, and Batista gets involved. In the end though, Batista getting involved and hitting the Batista bomb was enough to cost the win to go to Team Bischoff. The 14-year career of Stone Cold was over. Did he return about a month later? Yes, but it's Stone Cold. Who wants to stop seeing stunners to people all over the place? In 2004, he made events at WrestleMania, but in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, and 2010, those were his peak years. Yes, it's wild to say, but his peak was in the PG era for the most part. 2005, the one thing of his career that instantly pops into my head is the famous super kick. The match was announced as a Gold Rush tournament. Shelton Benjamin was pulling his amateur wrestling moves and getting the better of most of the match. Then he started setting up and springboarding into the ring and got caught with one of the best super kicks ever. The 2005 year kept going, and a red and yellow attire wearing legend was going to come out of retirement. Besides the fact that we got this iconic pose down with John Cena, the build up to this was pretty great. Larry King was a talk show back in the day, and Shawn dressed up as Hulk Hogan and went on a fake Larry King show. It was a parody, and he was talking about brother. Pretty much that Hulk Hogan was a great guy on camera, but was different off screen. The HBK cared about the fans. All this in Hulk Hogan character. He then super kicked Larry and got serious, telling Hulk that he wanted to know what he was gonna do when reality at SummerSlam kicks him right in the face. At SummerSlam, the two went at it in the main event of the show. It probably wasn't what you were expecting. Shawn Michaels was in zero gravity mode. He was selling like this was his last match. A big boot. See you later, brother. Thrown into the apron, the velocity was a lot. A right hand, Shawn was gonna make sure he bumped. Kick to the apron, he's going up to the sky. Some of you guys will be pretty familiar with this story. Pretty much, backstage disagreements happened between the ending of the match. So HBK took it upon himself to oversell in the match and get things in line with his ideas. This was kind of a wild match to look at. The main event of SummerSlam was this. Now, this was the end of SummerSlam, but not the end of the top classic matches of 2005. Because let's rewind it a bit. I saved the best for last. There were two guys running roughshod on who the man was. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. The two finally met in 05. With these two, the only thing you would expect are classics. Classics are where you got to, with the two competing to see who was the best. The build-up gave the fans that famous Kurt Angle segment singing Shawn's theme. After this though, it was about the matches. The two faced off at WrestleMania, and one of the best wrestling matches in most fans' eyes. The ankle lock, sweet chin music, amateur wrestling moves, and the match was pure adrenaline. 2005 was definitely Shawn Michaels' best year in terms of quality. 2006 was kind of a unique year for HBK, but 2007, this year, a couple of things happened. 2005 and 2006 are golden, but this year started the rivalry that defined the whole run. In January, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels finally met again. In the Royal Rumble, there was one man who was known for his performances, and Undertaker was dominating, even eliminating the Great Khali. They were the final two. As for the sequence, it was quite possibly the best in history. The two were given a preview to WrestleMania 25 and 26. The non-stop non-stop back and forth action. It was definitely really close at times. In the end, Undertaker took the dub home, but the wild thing is HBK main advantage. The rivalry was off to a hot start. The fans got a glimpse of the matches that were to come over the next 3 and a bit years. This was the start of 2007. The next big rivalry here was John Cena. John Cena and his opponent won the tag team championships. Then the story became when Shawn Michaels was going to turn on John. John was backstage and was asking Shawn about what made his scenario any different than any of Shawn's old partners. Shawn responded that, well, maybe it's not. For weeks, this was teased, and a couple weeks in, they did a thing where they faced their previous opponents. For example, John Cena faced Chris Benoit. He made him tap too, which is wild. The build-up was all for the kick. John and Michaels later faced Batista and The Undertaker. Just when the fans least expected it, the kick was hit. Or maybe most expected it, because come on, this match having a clean finish is like humans going to Mars. Come on guys, I want to go to Mars. The match then happened at Mania. Moonsaults on the table, AAs, the shoulder tackles, sweet chin music from Shawn, and an STF from John Cena. That was the deciding factor at the end of the match. He made him tap. John went for the handshake at the end, and Michaels looked at him but didn't shake. After this, guys, we have 2 more storylines that I really want to get to in this video. The first happened in 2008. Woo! Ric Flair was near retirement. He was involved in the storyline that if he didn't win, he would be forced to retire. So Flair did keep winning, and out of nowhere, the WWE decided to induct him into the Hall of Fame. For one last Mania match, Flair wanted HBK to be his last match. He refused. Flair was fed up and felt that Shawn owed him the match. Shawn gave Flair his props and always looked up to him. He just wouldn't do it until HBK sent a warning shot, telling him that he was going to stop Ric's show if he kept pushing for the match. Which a couple of weeks later, the two, not showing pity or holding back, agreed to a match, which led to this old Yeller comment. The match was set at WrestleMania 24. Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. Flair was the age of 57 here, and he came out with the drip, a blue robe, and put on one last WWE match. All the patent moves were hit, and even landed a top rope move. Shawn hit all his moves, and was there a moonsault? Yes, there was. If you see this, it's a classic. At the very end, Ric Flair was standing up and had some fight left in him. When Shawn looked over, said the catchphrase, and Flair with his fist clenched up to bring the fight, Shawn kicked him straight in the head. Fans all over the world started crying. The match was a classic. So are these next final 2. WrestleMania 25 and WrestleMania 26. See, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels were always fantastic in the ring together. Only one thing though, they didn't really have a match at WrestleMania. After all, the last match Shawn had was against The Undertaker before getting hurt during that match. So the build-up was on for WrestleMania 25. To be completely transparent here, there's only a little bit of it. The first WrestleMania encounter didn't have nearly as much hype as the second. The first time is a classic storyline. The storyline of 2 of the greatest. Who was better? They faced off at WrestleMania 25, and Shawn opened the match seemingly using a speed strategy. Throughout the match, Shawn was displaying that he would do anything to get the job done. He faked an injury, pulled a cameraman, wanted to get a win via countout, and did risky moves. The record at this point was 16-0. Shawn Michaels got caught in a tombstone, and a near fall happened onto Shawn. Jim Ross is screaming, talking about how he's having out-of-body experience, and rightfully so. I feel like that summed up what a lot of fans were feeling. Shawn's moonsault was countered into a tombstone, and this earned him the win. Now, for the most part, Shawn Michaels was doing things that had nothing to do with this event or the next year, until the Slammies came around. For anyone that hasn't seen this event or really hasn't given it any attention in a few years, the Slammies came around every year around November, December time. Shawn won the Slammy for Match of the Year that year. He accepted the award, thanked the fans while they applauded, and was about to walk away. A look of, I got something to say, came over his face. He went back and he definitely delivered. He looked dead into the hard shot and sent a message saying he knew he could beat The Undertaker. He knows it, but most importantly, he knows it. So it was on. The build-up started. The only thing this time though is Shawn was on the hunt for the match. And like most things, when making an offer, we're almost forced to give the other person value. So Taker wanted him to put his career on the line. Shawn accepted, and the match was on for WrestleMania 26. Shawn and Undertaker faced off at the beginning, and the match got underway. Shawn seemed to be doing a similar strategy in the beginning until The Undertaker started feeling his leg was hurt, and Shawn capitalized on it. There was this last ride where it happened, but The Undertaker's leg collapsed, and Shawn reversed it. So it was a combination of both. Undertaker hit a tombstone outside. Shawn got pretty close a couple of times. The closing sequence of the match saw a tombstone that you're done cover, and Shawn Michaels' career was over. For the next 8 years, Shawn honored the agreement and stayed retired. He made appearances here and there. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. He's in 2024 in charge of NXT. From 2002 to 2010, he was on a roll and was even better than before. I feel like he was a changed man, and this translated to the ring. From his classic with Kurt Angle to Chris Jericho and John Cena, this man was in that super Michaels mode. Coming back from an injury after 4 years and being so consistently great is hugely impressive. Shawn Michaels' run too, this was it. God gave him superpowers. Honestly guys, I really enjoyed making this video. Like, subscribe, and comment. Do it to my channel popping. Peace out.